So 46 days into my through hike up the Appalachian Trail, I ran a marathon. So I've done 3 marathons in the past. This was going to be marathon number 4. And I don't really consider myself a runner. I don't really run for fun or train or even do well in marathons. I just like participating in them. I like pushing my body. I like seeing what I'm capable of. And that's a big reason why I'm out on the Appalachian Trail to begin with. I just like to see what I can do physically. So running a marathon in the middle of my through hike seemed like a good challenge, seemed like I would enjoy it. And this marathon was planned long before I set foot on the AT. I ran the marathon with my friend Janine, who is actually a good runner and she trains for this stuff. And I just kind of tag along because I like seeing new cities and I just like the whole vibe of race day. So Janine drove down from New Hampshire. I drove up from the trail in Virginia and we met at Delaware, which was a good halfway spot, so that's why we picked that one. And I took 2 0 days before running the race. I wanted to see if 800 miles on the Appalachian Trail was going to be beneficial to me running the race. I wanted to see if I was like strong and fit and if it would help me or if it would do the opposite and just backpacking and not running for all that time would make the race miserable. So it was kind of like a little experiment. I wanted to see how it went. So we woke up on Sunday morning at a hotel. Me and Janine and my husband actually drove down to watch the race. And we walked a little less than a mile to the start of the marathon. On the little sidewalk, walk into the start of the marathon. Little nervous, had peanut butter and a banana and Element in my water, and I'm gonna see how this goes. It's not cold so far, so I think it's gonna be a nice warm day. Now, the Delaware Marathon isn't a huge race by any means. I believe there were like 3,000 runners between all the races, the marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K. And so there's a lot of people walking around. There were vendors. There's actually a Dunkin' Donuts food truck, which I was first in line for because that's how excited I was. So I got a little shot of iced coffee, which just I was excited about. The race actually started pretty early. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. All the racers kind of lined up behind the starting line. I kind of put myself in the back with like the slower runners because I didn't think I was going to run a fast pace at all, and I didn't want to get trampled in the front. Janine went to the front because she's fast. So we waited, we did the national anthem, and then we started running. So I was super hyped, had all this adrenaline the moment the race started, but within the first 3 minutes, that kind of all went away because I started having extremely painful knee pain in my left knee. So that really worried me. If you saw any of my pre-trail videos, you would have heard me talking about how I thought I had a meniscus problem or a kneecap problem, and I was worried that was going to really affect my Appalachian Trail through hike. But actually in the last month and a half on trail, it hasn't really given me any issues. But I guess the moment I started running the marathon, maybe it was the hard pavement or just the intensity of it, all the knee pain came back and it was just so much worse than I've ever experienced. So I really was thinking that I had to get off the marathon and just end it right there within the first couple minutes. The Appalachian Trail is my main goal. The marathon was just for fun. So I didn't want to run the marathon and just put my whole through hike in jeopardy because I really messed up my knee. And yeah, so I was debating in my head just right off the bat. I was like, should I just stop the marathon? Should I keep going? Should I see how this goes? And I got really bummed because I didn't think I could keep going. But I just kept jogging, wasn't really fast. The first few miles were 11, 12-minute miles. And I'd say around mile 7 or 8, the knee pain, I don't want to say went away, but it was manageable. I felt like I could keep running, so that was great. The first half of the marathon was actually pretty fun. There were a lot of racers, and the trail kind of weaved in and out of the city and then also the suburbs of the city, where it was just so beautiful. There were like parks and mansions and a lot of people cheering on the runners, so that was really exciting. Besides the knee pain, I felt like I was in a really good mood up until mile like 13 to 15, and then it kind of went downhill. At mile 13.1, the course looped back into the city, and that's when the half marathoners finished their race. And there was a lot of excitement from those runners who were finishing. Everyone was chanting like, "We're almost there!" And all the people on the sidelines were cheering us on. There was just a lot of excitement in the air.
Here comes Taylor! Yay, Taylor! Woo! Yay, Taylor! Good job, Taylor! You're looking good, Taylor! Woo! Have fun!
But after that point, when there started to be a lot less runners on the course and just the marathoners were left, and the course kind of left the city and started going down the boardwalk, that's when it started to get a little more boring, I'd say. Mile 15 was exciting because the course went right past the hotel we were staying at, and Chet was there and he gave me some goo, and that kind of pumped me up a little bit. But then from mile 15 on, I was just bored out of my mind. I just wanted the race to be over. I really slowed down my pace. The trail was boring. Like, there wasn't much to look at. It was a boardwalk. It was just plain fields, or the course went through a path in the woods, and it was an out and back. So I was running down the path, and I had fallen behind because I'm not a fast runner. A lot of the runners were way ahead of me, so I could see them all coming towards me, and they were kind of in the home stretch, and I was like, I probably have like 10 miles left. I was at mile 17 when I saw Janine running towards me. Go, Janine! Woo! Good job! And she was probably at mile like 22 at this point, and so I gave her a little high five. She said she was dying. Yeah, I kept going. A huge goal for me during this marathon was to never walk, and I'm proud that I never ended up having to walk. I really pushed myself. Even if it was just a slow jog, I just kept myself going. Because my last 3 marathons, I did the Paris Marathon, the Cape Cod Marathon, and the Chicago Marathon. There were all points within the race that I walked just because I was just too exhausted. So I kept going. So I've done almost 21 miles. I'm feeling good. Haven't needed to walk yet. I'm just going at a slow pace. At the beginning of the race, I was like 11, 12 minutes a mile. Now it's more like 13, 14 minutes a mile, which is honestly a lot better than I thought. It's a boring section of trail. A lot of the runners are gone, so it's hard to keep myself motivated. For some reason, I just don't want to listen to music, so I'm just going through the green tunnel, but that's something I've been used to. I've been doing the green tunnel for a month and a half now. I'm just excited to get to the end at this point where there's a little more excitement. I drank water and Gatorade at every single water station, and I had a couple snacks. Like I said, I was a little worried for my hiker hunger, but I ended up having some like sport jelly beans and a honey stinger waffle, and I think that kind of held me over. It was kind of a bummer in the second half of the marathon not seeing as many hikers. It was just kind of the mental thing where I knew I was way in the back, and I don't know, I kept myself going just because I wanted the race to be done. I'm jogging, not very fast. It's really hard not to want to walk right now. I have less than 3 miles. I just want to get this over with. It's very sunny right now, very exposed. I got this. Mile 25, I passed the hotel again and kind of got a view of the city, and actually seeing the city, I think, helped my mood a lot. Hello, Wilmington. It's nice to see a view of the city again. Not too much further, a little over a mile left. And I think I picked up the pace, the excitement kind of came back, and there were a lot of people just walking up and down the boardwalk that weren't part of the race, but they were cheering me on. At mile 26, when I had like 0.2 miles left, I saw Janine, and she had already been done with the race for like an hour and a half, and she kind of ran the last like couple hundred feet with me. Here's the finish line! Woo! And I crossed the finish line. I was smiling. I was like pumping my fist. If you see any of the pictures from the race, I look happy in all of them. I don't look like I'm in pain. And I think that just shows that I had a good time. Now, my time was about 5.5 hours. I don't remember exactly. And honestly, I was a little bummed with that time. I thought I would do better. Now, the big question that I was curious about for this marathon was that if my 1.5 months on the Appalachian Trail was gonna help my marathon time, or was it gonna hurt it? So was I gonna go into the marathon being like the most fit and strong that I've ever been and get a personal record and all that, or was I gonna go into the race just being exhausted and slow, and I don't know. So I'd say that the 1.5 months on trail helped a little bit. Every time the course went uphill, I felt like I barely noticed. There were times where the course went up and everyone started walking, and I just kept running and I felt fine. I didn't feel any different, so that was a good feeling. The course was pretty flat, so that didn't happen often, but the couple times I did notice, I felt good and I felt strong. But with all that said, this was actually my slowest marathon, not by much, and that kind of shocked me because while I was running the race and I never walked and I felt fine, I felt like it was going to be my fastest time, mostly because I never walked. But I guess when I was jogging, I just wasn't jogging that fast, and yeah, I just didn't place well. But I don't really want to focus on the negative because it was a really positive day. It was a great experience, and I'm happy I did it. Doesn't mean I would ever do something like that again, but I think it was a good time. It was a great weekend off of the Appalachian Trail. It was exciting. I got to see a new state. I got to see my friend and my husband, and we had a great time. So after the race ended, we did the 1 mile walk back to the hotel. That was fine, but as soon as I got back to the hotel and I sat down, just my whole body was completely sore. I couldn't do the simplest tasks. I couldn't even walk next door to the brewery. We had to drive there. So it took a lot out of me, but it was a good experience, and I'm happy I got to take you along. And that night we ended up driving from Delaware back to the trail in Virginia with a little pit stop in Harper's Ferry because I really wanted to see that downtown and show Chet that area. And the next day I went back on the AT. It was tough, but you'll see that in tomorrow's video. So thanks for watching this, and I'll see you on trail tomorrow. Bye. So I finished the marathon. Sat on a bench. My legs, they're tired, a little sore, but I'm really happy it's done.